In this video, we are going into the two different versions of extroverted sensing coming from Dario Nardi's book, Decode Your Personality, Go Beyond Myers-Briggs, with 64 brain-based subtypes. Dr. Dario Nardi has written this fantastic book, and it goes into his research about how the brain is activated with different cognitive functions. I'm an INFP, and it is my 7th function. Listen, and you can hear my stories about it as I read through it, as well as bringing your own understanding of extroverted sensing and any stereotypes that you might have, or any presuppositions, any kind of thoughts that you have about extroverted sensing, whether it's good or bad, or how you feel about it. Extroverted sensing, SE. Extroverted sensing, SE, has two sides. It can show up as a mover with a more aggressive and analytical side, or as a sensate with a more receptive and sensual side. People who prefer SE usually show both sides as suiting their mood and the situation, though they still have a preference. When there is a strong bias, one-sidedness, then the result is trouble. As for everyone else, we all use SE in some way, even unconsciously, and likely have unconscious conditioning or habits around it. So one thing that's really important to know is that extroverted sensing is something that we all have. We all use all 8 of these cognitive functions. And the problem comes when we think that we don't have access to any specific ones. Like, I'm an INFP, extroverted sensing is not within my top 4 in my cognitive function stack. So a lot of INFPs will be like, well, I don't have extroverted sensing. It's not that you don't have it. It's like a character within your psyche's questing party, the adventurer, as I call it, the engaging adventurer. And we just need to give it more XP. Give it more spotlight. Make it known, level it up, give it some gear, weapons, log on to it every once in a while, and use it more. And then we condition ourselves to be more okay with it, and we get rid of some of the baggage attached to it. But it's not easy because it's not a preferred character for all personality types. If you're an ESP or an ISP, then sure, you are very skilled in this character, in this cognitive function. If you're an ENJ, then you might also be fairly skilled with it, but it might be something that you need to develop more as well. But it's got a prominent role within your psyche's story. Let's continue. Analytic, Yang SE, the mover. Yang SE is about force, strength, and moving things. It's physically active with an aggressive style. This SE user sees a problem and just goes to tackle it. They tune their senses to whatever relevant data comes in about what they can do now, and they take action. I'm definitely not an action taker from the get-go. These SE users are okay with danger. Yes, let's go bungee jumping, or let's scuba dive and pet sharks. That's a real thing. One time, I was on a busy street with an ISFP friend. An officer in the street was helping to direct traffic from a narrow median. The ISFP just jaywalked to that median to right where the officer stood. He said hello to the officer and continued jaywalking. I walked with him and didn't say anything. I thought only an SE user could do that. But that's not entirely true. Everyone does SE in some way. And if they favor the Yang side, they will have confidence to just do it, to read the situation's limits and be an alpha. They focus on what is actionable, the bottom line results, and what they can get away with. They like to be impressive and can come off as aggressive and are maybe rude or crude. I've definitely been in these kind of situations where, like, I remember one time I was at a party at my friend's house when I was still underage, but I had lived in Japan already for a year or more, where you can kind of drink whenever you want. They have vending machines outside with alcohol in it, right? It's not that difficult to get, and it was part of the culture, part of the customs. The police came, and instead of running, I just walked outside and just started talking to the police officer. I've had a couple of those events in my life. I don't know, I'm not saying that they are mover yang, they might just be stupid youth, but it is something that happened, and maybe it's a sign. A great example is Donald Trump. Not that every Yang SE user is just like Trump. A person could have different political beliefs and so forth. In any case, Yang SE can be particularly offensive to people who have Yin SE. particularly if that Yin SE is in shadow, deep in the unconscious. The offended part of the personality will react. Oh, this is a horrible, violent person. And that, my friends, is a type bias. I have plenty of thoughts about Trump and being offensive, and maybe it is a projection. That is something that I often wrangle with, is that if you don't like somebody, it's likely, some part of you is projecting onto that. Now, they might just be a horrible person, but also you might be making them even more horrible in your spotlight, or you might be giving them more attention and focus than they deserve in your daily life because it's rubbing your unconscious in the wrong way. Here's another story. I was in Costa Rica casually filming two martial arts friends as they sparred. They sparred vigorously as usual. A gal came over, sat to watch, and afterward remarked, "Wow, why are you guys so angry and violent?" They casually replied, "We're not." They didn't experience it that way. They were simply expressing themselves physically. Consider an intuiting N type can deliver over-the-top abstraction, and a feeling type can deliver over-the-top drama. Never. Similarly, SE users can deliver over-the-top action. In the case of martial arts, discipline intersects with action, and that discipline matures the analytic Yang SE. By the way, what I describe here is close to Socionics' definition of SE. Socionics is the Eastern European lineage of type after Dr. Jung. Many of its definitions are similar to the Western lineage popularized by Myers-Briggs, but in some cases, as with SE, they differ. Mover SE feels more like the Socionics version, which I don't spend a lot of time dabbling in, but I do appreciate that there are different definitions for the cognitive functions and for what they do. And of course, we could just go back to Carl Jung and just stick with that, but things do mature in time and people learn more and we have more technology in all sorts of ways. So it's important to kind of take in all these different aspects and put them together and try to triangulate what the actual thing is. And then on top of that, it's just a model. It's just a model for understanding people and how we work, and it's not the real thing. Like, extroverted sensing doesn't exist. It's something that we have labeled, right? It's a emergent of a bunch of different patterns, and we've given it a name so that we can identify and talk about it. So, might as well keep talking about it and keep working to identify what is the true nature of it. As an Enneagram Type 9, I do also have quite a pushback against any sort of anger or violence or fighting. It could be Mover SE in my unconscious, giving me some havoc. It's definitely a possibility. Holistic Yin SE, the Sensate. In the Myers-Briggs tradition, sensing in general is defined as taking in information through the five senses. This sounds passive or weak compared to Yang SE. Yet actual ESFPs and ESTPs are often active and strong. They are not just sitting in a chair observing. Maybe to no surprise, Isabel Briggs Myers favored Yin SE, and moreover, SE was a shadow function for her, as she had INFP preferences. She wrote what she knew. Thus, in her type lineage, SE has a strong Yin flavor that needs balancing out. I've noticed that when I explain extroverted sensing, people have different reactions to it, and a lot of SPs will have a better reaction when I explain it as like merging with the environment, not just sensing it, not being observant of it, although that is a clear thing, as my ESFP friend can point out every detail around him, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on. But there's also this merging with the environment and bringing forth also the desire to be one with the moment and let the moment recreate you in every moment. And it's a very fascinating thing when you think about it that way and when you give it more of this kaleidoscope of different sensory aspects. So what is this yin side of SE? It's about being more diffuse and receptive. It's about absorbing sensory experiences. It is the artist who absorbs the rhythms and hues of a landscape and expresses that through art. It's kind of like what I was talking about. It is about enjoying life's pleasures. Notice I said pleasures, not comforts. Pleasure is more stimulating and doing what we like in the moment, familiar or not. Imagine a friend saying, let's take a road trip. He ends up slowly traveling through Thailand for a while, experiencing the jungle and the beaches and clubs there. It's mostly about absorbing the sensory experiences, surfing, watching the sunset, dropping in on a party, dancing, drumming, and maybe smoking ganja. There's a fun, relaxed feeling, and there's a lot of attending to other people's motion, getting in sync and being in flow. That sounds fascinating. It would be a lovely experience to just be present, to just have that level of sensory acuity and sensory awareness and absorption within my sensory world. I used to break dance, and I used to do taekwondo, and I used to skate, but it was never a sensory thing, like not an extroverted sensing thing. Like it wasn't present. It was an introverted sensing. I'm just going to do this over repetition and kind of burn in the neural pathways. But actually doing it in response to the environment was not something that I was very skilled at. I was at a big, massive Japanese reggae event in a stadium. It was fully packed, the floor, the chairs, everything. And most of the time I was still in my head. Like I was watching everybody jumping around and I'm still thinking of ideas and like what it could be. They're spinning their towels around and stuff, which is something that they do in the reggae concerts. And it was like, oh, it's like a helicopter. They're having a lot of fun. This is great. But I wasn't present. This was like 10, 15 years ago, but still, it's something that haunts me even still. One year at the Burning Man Desert Art Festival, I visited a camp to try improvisational contact dance. Rule 1, you stay physically in touch with your partner at all times, with any part of your bodies, even if that's elbow and knee or whatever. And rule 2, you both keep moving to the music, which was mostly slow. It was not electronic dance, though it could be. The idea was to stay in sync with somebody else physically. It was very sensual. So if analytic Yang SE can be sexual, then holistic Yin SE can be sensual. That is, Yin SE appreciates beauty and grace and is fashionable, artistic, and inviting to the senses. Remarkably, this SE user often doesn't even need to do much. There's something about their style, the way they carry themselves, and the way they attend to others at a sensory level that's inviting. They're also the kind of person who's just happy to lie in the sun at the beach with a drink and suntan. That's their idea of fun. Oh, I'm so conflicted. Definitely love just lying at the beach, listening to the waves, and allowing myself to do that because it's not something I naturally do a lot. One thing that I often recommend is to use the sensory world as triggers to remind yourself of the state that you want to be in. So when I leave my house, I turn left. There's a big tree kind of down the road a bit. And I intentionally tell myself to focus on the colors of the leaves and the movement of the leaves. And as I'm doing that, I repeat affirmations to myself. And it's not something that just happens. Like I have to bring in attention to it. Again, I have to log on to that character in order for it to happen. But that does sound more at peace with my psyche than the heavy action. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Sorting flavors of SE. To sum up, there's Yang and Yin SE. Both sides orient to the outer world, to concrete practical data, whatever is there as a relevant option in the environment. The question is simply if they take a more imposing or receptive approach. And this bias does not link to having thinking or feeling or any specific type. A specific ESTP guy might be holistic, while a specific ISFP gal might be analytic. The analytic Yang side runs to the top of the hill, drawing his sword to engage in battle, or to engage in business, sports, music, or whatever. That's the version that I tend to talk about the most in terms of like as a character within your Psyche's questing party. It's the engaging adventurer, turns things up to 11, charges into battle, thunderclaps, like gets attention, and is present and has to be present in order to deal with the environment or, become the axe, become the battlefield. There's also a sensory perception quality to that, but I tend to talk about that one more, possibly just because I've gamified it a bit. Maybe others follow based on his sheer guts, animal magnetism, and display of force. Even on holiday, Yang SE may say, "Let's go jet skiing." And if they don't go or do something that provides an equal adrenaline rush or thrill, they'll be disappointed. Yang SE can show in non-physical ways too, as a vigorous marketing campaign or an aggressive sales pitch. I'm studying from a marketing mentor right now. He's an ISTP, and this very clearly sounds like his style. In contrast, the holistic yin side is like that stereotypical painter or dancer. Appreciate the beauty of the moment and of movement, the pulse of life, and flow with that. It basks in subtleties of experience. That's a cool phrase. It basks in subtleties of experience. I wonder what that's like. At times, it can look like introverted sensing SI because it is more passive, which is somewhat like being introverted. But actually, Yin SE is directly and acutely connecting to the outer world. That is, chartreuse is a color to be felt and tried out, not simply a specific stimulus that evokes a memory and set of feelings and preferences that come with that memory, which is SI. I have no ability yet to parse colors or flavors. They're just things like red is red. All types of red are red. And green are green. There's light green, there's dark green. That's about as clear as I can get with it. Same with flavors. Like even sometimes I can eat like a gummy and not know what flavor it is. My wife will eat it and be like, "Oh, strawberry." I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. By the way, Analytic SE is a little more interested in the facts at hand compared to Holistic SE, simply because facts are more eagerly processed by the analytical mind. That said, facts are more than words and figures. Facts can include the tastes of different beers and whatnot. Yeah, I always tell my friends, like, a beer is a beer is a beer. I have no preference. Or if I do like one, usually it's an SI thing. Like I've come to like it because of some past experience that I've connected with. And I was just thinking of one specific right now, but I don't really know what it tastes like, nor could I explain it, but I like it. Finally, remember that the yin and yang sides of SE explain well the differing definitions of SE between Socionics and Myers-Briggs. Attending to the two sides also helps people sort their best fit type so that they don't miss out on recognizing who they are simply because of a stereotype. So what is your version of extroverted sensing? Which one do you prefer? As well as, I'm curious, which one do you have a little bit of hesitation around? Which one maybe have you been projecting, or you have some baggage around it that maybe it's time to let go? Time to allow both sides of extroverted sensing to merge, to be a part of your extroverted sensing experience of the world. And if you have any experiences that you do want to talk about, that you want to share with us, that highlight either the mover or the sensate types, please let us know down below in the comments. And you can check out this video over here to go into the other variations of the cognitive functions. Good luck, have fun. Peace.